I never imagined I'd walk into Andrew's life, again, especially not like this. It had been 16 years since we divorced. We'd both moved on at least. That's what I thought. He remarried quickly to a woman named Vanessa, elegant and polished, the kind who wore diamonds to brunch and judged women like me with one glance. We hadn't spoken in nearly a decade, but when I saw the obituary in the local paper, my hands trembled. Andrew, 50-8 years old. A heart attack. It said, "Gone too soon," they wrote. And despite everything, I cried. We had built a life once. 12 years of memories, laughter, mistakes. We had a dog named Milo, a garden we planted together, and quiet Sunday mornings with coffee and jazz. It didn't end because we stopped loving each other. It ended because he changed, or maybe I did still. I felt I owed it to both of us to say goodbye. I wore a black dress I hadn't touched in years. Nothing fancy. Just simple, respectful. A pearl necklace my mother left me. A light scarf dot my hair in a bun. Not for show, for respect. As I stepped into the grand chapel, heads turned, people whispered. I felt the weight of their stares. The ex-wife showing up at the funeral like some ghost from a past they thought was buried, but I held my head high. I wasn't there for anyone else. I was there for Andrew. Then I saw her Vanessa. She stood near the casket, wrapped in a designer shawl, surrounded by her friends like a queen holding court. When her eyes landed on me, her lips curled into a tight smile. "Well," she said, loud enough for the row behind her to hear. "Look what the wind blew in." People chuckled nervously. "Did you get lost on the way to the thrift store?" she added, eyeing my dress. Few quiet snickers followed. I froze. The humiliation burned deep, hotter than any fire I'd felt in years, but I didn't respond. I simply nodded. "I came to pay my respects," I said softly. Her eyes narrowed. "Oh, how noble of you," she replied. "After all these years, after everything you two went through, surprised you even remember his name?" Her tone was venom, wrapped in velvet, but I stood still. I wouldn't let her bait me. I wouldn't cause a scene at his funeral. Andrew wouldn't have wanted that. I moved to a back pew, away from the eyes and whispers. The service began. A priest spoke of Andrew's generosity, his work ethic, his charm. I stared at the coffin. I didn't cry. I had cried enough for him in the past, but I whispered in my heart, "Goodbye, Drew, you weren't perfect, but you were a part of me once." After the service, people filed out to the reception hall. Next door, I followed slowly, unsure if I should stay. As I reached for a cup of coffee, I heard Vanessa's voice again. "Careful with that," she said mockingly. "Wouldn't want to stain that precious vintage outfit." I turned to her. This time, I looked her in the eyes. "I came to honor Andrew," I said. "Not to trade insults," she smirked. "Then you should have stayed home." Before I could respond, a voice interrupted. "Mrs. Langston." I turned. A tall man in a gray suit stood nearby. Late 40s, clean-cut, serious. "Yes," I answered. "I'm Thomas Weller, Andrew's attorney. I was instructed to deliver something to you today." He reached into his briefcase and pulled out a white envelope. My name was written in Andrew's handwriting. Claire. Vanessa's smile twitched. "What's that?" she asked, suddenly tense. The lawyer remained professional. "A private matter." "Mr. Langston's request?" He handed it to me and stepped back. My fingers trembled as I opened it. Inside was a letter, folded neatly. The room seemed to fade as I read the first line. "Claire, if you're reading this, I'm gone, and there are things I need to say." I should have said long ago. Vanessa's eyes burned into me. "What is it?" she asked again, louder this time. I didn't answer. I was still reading. "You were the love of my life. I know I messed it up. I lost myself. I tried to fix things with someone new, but it was never the same. I always admired your strength, your grace, your honesty. I asked Thomas to give you this letter and the document inside. It's my way of doing right by you. Finally, thank you for loving me when I didn't deserve it." Andrew behind the letter was another folded, sheet stamped and notarized, a revised section of his will, leaving me something significant. Before I could even process it, Vanessa lunged forward. "Let me see that," she snapped, trying to grab the papers from my hands. The lawyer stepped between us. Double quotes. "Mrs. Langston, please. This is a legal matter. If you have questions, we can discuss it privately." Vanessa's composure shattered. Her cheeks flushed, her jaw clenched. "What is this nonsense? She's his ex-wife," he replied calmly. "And yet Mr. Langston made specific arrangements in his final will. I suggest you schedule an appointment." Her smile had vanished completely. People around us pretended not to listen, but I saw the glances, the whispering dots. Suddenly, the woman who mocked me in front of the entire chapel looked small, shaken, threatened. I folded the letter carefully and placed it back in the envelope. I said nothing, not out of fear, but out of power. Because some victories don't require shouting. Sometimes truth is quiet, but impossible to ignore. I sat in my car for nearly an hour outside the funeral home, the envelope still resting on my lap. My hands were shaking not from fear, but from a strange cocktail of disbelief, validation, and grief. It wasn't just about the money, it was the letter. Andrew's words played in my head over and over. You were the love of my life. I always admired your strength. I'm doing right by you finally. I never expected anything from him, not after everything, and certainly not after his death, but to hear those words, even from the grave, it was like finally being seen after so many years in the shadows. 2 days later, I sat across from Thomas Weller, Andrew's lawyer, in his office. He was calm, professional, with a sympathetic tone. I understand this. Must feel like a lot, he said gently. But Andrew made these arrangements over 6 months ago privately. Vanessa didn't know. I nodded. What exactly did he leave me? He opened a folder and slid a document toward me. I scanned the pages. A lake cabin, fully paid off, his classic car collection, and a bank account in my name, with a balance I had to read twice. $380. Oh. My throat tightened. Why? I whispered. Thomas gave a soft smile. You'd have to ask him that, but in my experience, it sounds like love. Or maybe guilt. Or both. I didn't call Vanessa. I didn't gloat, didn't post anything online, didn't say a word, but she called me 5 times. I didn't answer the first 4. The 5th time, I picked up her voice, once so smooth and condescending, now cracked like dry leaves. Claire, we need to talk. I said nothing. I didn't know. I swear, I didn't know he'd do this. The cabin, the cars, the money. Still, I said nothing. She laughed bitterly. You think you won, huh? You think this makes you better than me? I finally spoke. No. I think Andrew finally remembered who I was. Click dot. She hung up. The cabin was tucked between tall pine trees, by a glassy lake 3 hours from the city. I hadn't been there since before our divorce. We used to spend weekends here, morning coffee on the dock, sitting in silence with the wind brushing our faces, no TV, no noise. Just us. It was the only place we never argued. When I stepped inside, dust danced in the light beams slicing through the curtains. Everything was just as we'd left it. The green armchair he loved, the bookshelf I filled with my favorite novels, even the old mug with a chipped rim, my favorite. I stood there and cried, not out of sadness but release. For the first time in years, I felt like I had something of mine. Not something borrowed, not survival, but peace. I spent the next few weeks fixing the place up. Fresh curtains, new paint, a garden out front. Not because I needed to, but because it felt right. I didn't touch Andrew's things right away. One day, I opened a box labeled Memories. Inside were photographs I hadn't seen in years. US in our 20s. A trip to Venice. Our dog Milo chasing ducks. A handwritten note in my handwriting. Happy anniversary. Drew. Always. Claire. And beneath it, a card from him. You made me better. I just didn't know how to show it. One afternoon, I heard a car pull into the gravel driveway. Vanessa. She stepped out wearing oversized sunglasses and a tailored coat, still performing. Even now, I opened the door but didn't invite her in. Claire, she said. I wanted to talk. I crossed my arms. I've been Andrew's wife for 13 years, she said. I was with him till the end. I took care of him. I deserved all of this. I didn't argue. I let her speak. I was angry at the funeral. I was shocked. But I didn't mean to humiliate you. I raised an eyebrow. She sighed. Okay, maybe I did. But you showing up there looking so calm, it made me feel insecure. That surprised me. Insecure? Yes, she said. Because I always knew he loved you. He talked about you. When he was sick, he'd say your name in his sleep. That stopped me cold. I tried to be enough, she said, her voice breaking, but he never let me in the way he let you in. It was like you still owned part of him. We stood in silence for a moment, then I said, I didn't come to the funeral to win anything. I came because I cared. You mocked me in front of strangers. Vanessa, and now you want sympathy? She looked down. No, just understanding. I took a deep breath. Then, understand this: what he gave me wasn't about money, it was acknowledgement. And if you had respected that, maybe we both could have walked away with some dignity. She nodded slowly, then turned back to her car. I watched her drive away this time. Quietly, a month later, I hosted a gathering at the cabin, just a few old friends, some laughter, wine, and music, as the sun dipped into the lake. I stood on the dock and whispered, Thank you, Andrew, for the truth, for the peace, for the closure I never expected but desperately needed. People think the past dies when the relationship ends, but sometimes it lingers. And if you're lucky, it circles back not to hurt you but to heal you. Andrew couldn't undo our past, but with a letter and an envelope, he gave me something better than revenge. He gave me recognition and peace.